Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hello, hello.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming out tonight. This is the 15th one, so by now everybody know who I am, Donovan. Tonight's conversation webinar panel will be on wellness as strategy, protecting your body, mind, and energies as business assets. And we're here today with the lovely Chivonne. Please introduce yourself.
Well, hello to everyone. My name is Chivonne Gabriel. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I've got my own private practice called the Mosaic Refinery. So I provide psychotherapy as well as coaching to predominantly women of color. And so wellness, overwhelm, depression, anxiety, pivoting, all of that is my jam. That's my jam. Yeah. So I do the things, workshops, retreats, the things.
We need you for the things.
All right.
We need more of these conversations, especially amongst our people. This is why I was happy that you were so well recommended. And then after reading everything that you have produced over the years, I was like, yes, we need to have this conversation.
Yes, let's go.
You spent more than 21 years as a licensed clinical social worker, coach, and speaker working with someone of most overlooked populations in America. How did your clinical background shape the way you think about wellness as something that is not just personal, but strategic?
Yeah. So in my line of work, I've seen everybody from inmate to our nation's vets. And now I work predominantly with business women who are leaders, executives, entrepreneurs, speakers. I'm in that space quite a bit. And I recognize what I'm hearing from people is that wellness, it's not an individual thing. It affects everything that we do. So you're talking about how we lead ourselves, you're talking about how we lead our homes, how we lead at how we lead our children, how we build our business. So it's really going to show up. How you lead yourself, how you manage your wellness is going to show up in every facet of your life. So that's like I have learned it could either make or break you out here.
I know
So
that,
it's really important. You got to look at the human behind the thing, behind the business, behind the work.
you can't take care of other people until you take care of yourself, as the one will always say.
Say that again.
You have been open about your own journey through divorce, multiple miscarriages, I'm sorry, and foreclosures. What did that season of life teach you about the relationship between personal wellness and professional sustainability?
Yeah. Coming to what felt like the end of myself with those losses, I realized that you could put your head down because I was a control freak and probably I'm going to say a recovering control freak at that, right? So
A
I was
recovering control freak.
recovering because do we ever arrive? Do we ever arrive? So I would say learning that to achieve the things, to get the accolades, the jobs, the promotions, the things does not take away from your emotional wellness. And like you have to address it. If it is like what good are the things if your emotional wellness is not intact? And so what I found out was that none of it really mattered if I wasn't good. And who I show up as a friend, as a mom, as a spouse, it doesn't matter if at the end of the day, I've got these achievements, but my life is completely misaligned when it comes to the personal, the mental, emotional, the spiritual. So I've learned that really wellness is about full, whole integration of all those things. That doesn't mean that everything's going to fire off at the same, pace, the same speed, and everything's going to be harmonious. But that's ground zero. Wellness is ground zero. Wellness is ground zero. That's what I'd say.
And that's necessary. The Melanincon started in 2023, and we were supposed to have a 2024 Melanincon in person, but I planned a fashion show, which was a fashion show to bridge the gap between African Americans and all of the diaspora. And the fashion show was super dope, but it was stressful to bring together. And while trying to plan and execute and deal with 50 models, all these different things, I was also dealing with a breakup. I was also dealing with business, a person that I hired to handle sponsorship not doing their job. It was just a whole chaos. And just like you said, you have to take care of yourself first. And I remember after the end of the event, everybody was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. This was the best day I ever been to. You need to have more things like this. Like, this was great. I went
Mhm.
to a bar right after that joint and went home and tried to kill myself. Everything just crashed. Fortunate enough, I member of Kappa Alpha Psi, and I had two really good brothers from Z chapter and Theta Tau chapter. We share our locations. So they pulled up to my house and literally picked me up off the floor, boohoo crying. And it was that was one of the moments I was like, I need to take a step back and assess like my mental health. So I canceled all my events for the rest of the year. One of the best things I ever done, because you build the community. The community is going to be there whether you take a year off, 2 years. You got a strong community. You can get back to it. But assessing your mental health to try to help people, especially if your mission is helping people, from me to the world and everybody listening, you can't help people if you can't help yourself. You got to show up complete in this ministry.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your transparency with that. Like what I've learned, even because I left my long-term job at the VA. I left about a year ago. So I've been full-time entrepreneurship since then. And before I left, I hit the gas real hard and I wouldn't take my foot off. And that was not sustainable. And I had to learn like in real time, like your business can only expand to the level that your nervous system can legitimately realistically sustain. Like if you going hard and you're ignoring the things, and I've done what you did, where you do the thing that you do really well because you know how to control those outcomes, and whatever is not working, you kind of just like push it to the side for as long as possible, and then that avoidance catches up with you and smacks you in the face.
It's like that 13th reason. That one drop of water to make the whole pot go over. And it happens in the
Yeah.
worst times if you
Yeah.
don't control that.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I mean, this conversation is so important for that reason. If we plan on getting, to the end goal, being here for the long haul, we have to change the way that we're approaching our wellness for sure. And I'm not talking about a spa day.
it starts with these conversations, though.
Hmm.
People need to be able to express those emotions and be able to like work them out,
Yeah,
like work
process them.
through the thought, because people can't even like verbalize how they feel a lot of times because they're
Mhm.
not comfortable, especially us black men. It's just hard for us to put in words what we're feeling a lot of times. So
Mhm.
having a space to work through that as you figure out like, well, this is how I feel about this, and this
Mhm.
makes me feel like that, and that
Yes.
caused me to act like this.
Yeah, and to have the safety to be able to express that honestly without the judgment,
Yes,
right? That's a
necessary.
part of it. Yeah. Yeah.
But make the business case for wellness. What should a black entrepreneur, as you and I, who is juggling clients, cash flow, and growth, treat their body, mind, and energy as business assets rather than a personal concern?
Mhm, mhm. So I think what has to happen is that we have to treat wellness like this is a part of the business plan. Like your leadership. I lost you there for a second. Are you there?
Oh, no, I'm here.
Okay, that this is about our leadership infrastructure. Like this is the scaffolding. These are the pillars, these are the anchors that hold everything up. Wellness is how we protect our minds. Wellness is what allows us to remain creative, to keep the ideas flowing. Emotional regulation, that's really important in business, that we're not just flying off at the handle, right? Wellness allows us to really support our decision making and our sustainability strategy. If I'm not taking care of these things on that level, what happens is that we find ourselves feeling burnt out early in the game. And when you're burnt out, you can't think about any fresh ideas. You can't be innovative. If you're dysregulated, your decision making is now questionable. If you're exhausted, that's going to affect your bottom line, right? So
Yeah.
we have to think about it in that way. If we're experiencing chronic stress, my bandwidth for the peopling, my bandwidth for the meetings, for the ideas, for the meetups, for the networking, all of that goes out the window. So we wind up like if we're talking about, especially if you're in the, like you mentioned, in the business of community development and community wellness, that type of thing, when we're depleted, we wind up negatively impacting the culture. How you show up leaves a mark with people. It leaves an impression with people.
Right.
Yeah,
You
yeah. So back to that, your business can only expand to the level of your nervous system's ability to safely maintain and sustain itself.
Boy, do I know. But I'm glad you brought up burnout. What are signs that somebody is experiencing burnout? What is something that is usually deeper that's going on?
Yeah. So with burnout, people hear burnout and they think, just being tired. But burnout is a general disposition where rest doesn't even feel refreshing. Rest doesn't feel restorative. Sometimes the signs can be just like an emotional disconnect. Like I'm here, but I'm not. Like we're talking, but I'm not really engaged at all. Or if you find yourself more agitated than not, if you're irritable, starting to feel feelings of resentment, or what's a good sign of burnout too? When you can't eat, celebrate your wins. You can't even celebrate your wins. Everybody's
Really?
gushing.
That's burnout.
It could be a sign, like like you can be so ambition driven and so goal oriented, so focused on the next thing that you don't even pause to be like, did that, we did that, you on to the next thing. And a lot of it too, Donovan, comes from like me, many of us have grown up in environments where we were trying to survive. You may not have had all of the capital to be comfortable. And so if you find yourself like, I'm so driven because I know what it is to not have, even when you do have, you're still trying to get to the next thing, like enough is never enough. These are some of the signs. And sometimes the physical burnout, the symptoms there might be your blood pressure is high. You're feeling exhausted. Like you never feel like you get enough sleep. You have a hard time being present with people. Brain
I-
fog, too, is another one.
I'm so glad you said that because I always said, like, rest in peace to my mom. I love my mom, but I feel like my upbringing taught me to survive and to always be in survival mode, not necessarily how to live. Like, what do you do when you got enough money to pay for everything? How do you continue to save? How do you experience those feelings when when you out of panic mode and it's just up to you to live? Like, it's just
Yeah.
so many qualities and tools and tactics that I didn't receive because we was always in survival mode growing up.
So
I
you
get
know what happens? What happens, right? And so I'm not even gonna shade the survival mode because that's what allowed many of us to make it out, if you understand what I mean, right? And the challenge is when survival mode is no longer serving you, you're still functioning like that. So your circumstances change, but you are still operating from that place. And the reason why so many of us, like high performers and high achievers, don't even realize that we're burnt out is because you're still producing. And we're not talking
it.
about negative impact. You still producing effects.
Yes,
We
that
still
was that event I was talking about. It was 350 people at that. Like, it's
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
these things are still going forward.
yeah,
There is a culture narrative in the Black communities around grinding, as we talking about sacrifice and pursuing through. How do you honor the resilience in the narrative while also challenging the parts of it that are quietly destroying our mental health and our businesses? Kind of like what we
yeah.
already talking about.
Yeah, that is what we're talking about. So that's what I'm saying. We can't shade the parts of us that contributed to our development, our growth, our success. Like that survival mechanism that many of us have in our Black community, this is what allowed us to survive systems that we should not have had to survive in the first place, right? So
Uh-huh.
these strategies that we had built in, like those things protected us for as long as we needed them to. But what can protect you in one season?
Can hinder you in the
If
next.
we don't stop to reevaluate and take inventory, like, hold on, that's what got me here, but do I still need to operate this way? Grinding, that's adaptive for many of us. But eventually you have to ask, like, is this helping me build a life or am I still surviving? Am I still trying to survive my life? I think that's like the differentiator that we need to plug in when we're thinking about. Yeah, so we're never going to knock resilience. We're never going to knock hard work and our tenacity.
I also though, I feel like I spend so much of my life grinding and doing things. I just don't feel like I'm doing anything worth anything if I'm just sitting in this space doing nothing. Like around
Mhm.
about 2 days off max is about all I can do before I'm like, all right, now it's time to get to work. Like I get up every day, even on the weekends at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm
3
sitting
a.m.
3 a.m. because I have a full-time job along with being a full-time entrepreneur. So the start of my day is setting up emails and posts. I use Social Pilot. So I'm setting up 10 to 20 posts before I even go clock in at work because I'm working a secure building and I don't have service all the time.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure this stuff is still, all my automations are running on the back end, but you have to set those up in advance. So I set those up in the morning. And then on my lunch break, I probably have a meeting about an upcoming event, and then after work, it's straight to meetings, webinars. So I'm in bed by 8:30. I'm up by 3.
Okay. Okay. Okay, but that's not bad. If you're shutting down at 8 o'clock and you're clocking about 7 hours, that's not bad at all.
I get 8. I get 8 for sure.
Yeah, that's good. Good.
How do you help someone recognize the difference between a season of hard work that is sustainable and a pattern of overextension that is causing real damage? I love it because it's still on topic. I don't know if you answered on purpose like that, but it segues to the
No.
next thing.
No, but I mean, this is what I'm talking about with people every day. A season of hard work versus overextension. You got to consult your body. Consult
Mhm.
your body. So one of the things I do in my practice is sometimes I do think we can be so heady in the conversations and how intellectual and how smart and brilliant we are that we sometimes override the information and the data that our body is also putting us onto. So, for example, a season of hard work. Okay, now that has some parameters, right? That could be 6 months, that could be a year, that could be a project that you know has a beginning, a middle, and an end. But if we get to the end of that thing and you're still showing up for just your 9 to 5 in that same energy, you're exhausted, you are short. Back to the whole, where do you feel it, right? So when I do these somatic exercises,
For
I'll
those who
ask,
don't know, make sure they know what that means.
yeah, so I'm about to explain that. Somatic exercises, yeah, let me break that down. And I don't want to use any therapy or jargon, but somatic exercises go beyond the verbal interaction. Somatic exercises will ask you certain questions that guide you to connect to your body, like get back inside your body. So it might be questions like think of a scenario where you, for example, said maybe yes to a project that you know you really wanted to say no to or needed to say no. And when you think about that thing, now I want you to tell me where in your body do you feel any kind of resistance? And we kind of go through like a quick body scan, right? And then somebody might say, I actually feel like my shoulders feel tight, my jaw feels clenched, my stomach feels tense, and I feel like a sense of heaviness. That's you tapping back into your body and allowing your body to now participate in the conversation. What you might not be able to articulate, your body is now sharing with you. Now, sometimes, the overextension might be the prolonging of that feeling. Some of us carry stress. If you think about it, I'm sure you could probably identify it now if I ask you, where do you carry your stress? I can tell you right now, my neck,
I'm listening to you feeling like, oh yeah, I know where it's definitely at.
my shoulders, when I'm like, I need to let off the gas a bit. But when I feel like I'm just doing the most and I just want to get to the thing, those are the signs that let you know I'm probably overextending myself. When you withdraw yourself from interactions with your loved ones, you're getting short with the kids, you're getting short with your partner. Like it might be some time to like shift the deck around a bit.
So what I'm hearing is a line. Like you could still work hard, but there's a line. So along with that, like what would this not even a question, but I feel like it flows with what you have going on. What would be like if I'm naturally a hustler though? I'm naturally a grinder. What would be a red flag to be like, step back, assess what's going on. Where are you carrying these things? Like, are you overextended? Like, what would be like a quick sign? Like you said, I think you said blood pressure, but I feel like those things are things once you already there. But is there prelude things before you get to that point?
So that yeah. So I think markers are like it should like paying attention to your mood. Paying attention to your mood is a huge indicator. And just like tapping in from like, let me just hit the pause button. I think something that we don't do enough of, like we don't really pause during the day. You're just going. And I think that if you look up and it's been 8 hours, you haven't eaten
That's
any.
because I need to be working. I need the Steve Harvey. Mind you, I don't agree with the Steve Harvey method of giving up everything to pursue the dream and jumping. Like I feel like you have to do things within reason once you get to a certain age. 20s, that's fine. 30 plus, you got families and stuff to worry about. It has to be calculated. But the
I
Steve
told
Harvey
you,
method is you got to
I like
keep working.
I saw myself. I listen, I jumped out the gate. I think 2025, no lie. Quick story time. I hit the gas. Like I was in a plane every other week, speaking here, facilitating their workshop here, there, and everywhere, saying yes to everything because I wanted the visibility. Like people didn't know who
Yeah.
I was. And so I felt like, well, if this is my opportunity, I need to take it. But let me tell you what happened. I was so fried. Thanksgiving, it was here. People were coming and asking what we were going to eat. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to just be there. I was cooked. And I stayed in that space. It took me until early January to actually reset and recalibrate. And I had to re-strategize because I am not in my 20s anymore. I got 4 whole kids and a husband. You know, I'm a friend. I'm a daughter. Like I had to really shift gears because if my idea is to be in this for the long haul, there won't be any me if I'm that fried from going that hard inside of a year. You know what I mean? So I think is knowing what your baseline is and knowing how far off from your baseline you've gone. What's it looking like? Has anybody heard from you? Are you checking in with you? How are you eating? How are you sleeping? How are you feeling? How are you connecting? What's your mood like? When last you got some vitamin D? Like when last you been outside? When last have you moved your body? Are you just getting up and going? Are you even really resting? When your head hits the pillow, is your mind still racing with all of the things that you didn't get to do and all the things that you still have yet to get to the next day? Like paying attention to those markers. And something you mentioned earlier, Donna, that we didn't really crack open, but the culture is super important. I don't know where your family is from, but that's
South
super important.
Carolina.
Okay. So
I'm
my
born and
boyfriend,
raised in South Carolina.
so, you know, we believe in hard work and like the idea of rest. Like, what is that? No, we think that rest is a reward. We like to treat rest like that's something that you get on the back end. Like, show me show me your
Yes.
work, then
Yes.
you get to rest. So the idea of sitting down, you sit down too long, you feel like you're not being productive.
Like I could be doing something.
But the rest is productive. I feel like that's the game changer there is to reframe how you think of rest. Like how are we defining rest? So I digress. I'm about to go down my own rabbit hole on this whole thing because like that's actually where a lot of the issue is how we understand rest.
Yes. It sounds like for the people listening and going to listen, it sounds like it's a series of questions you need to ask yourself if you're in a line of work, whether it's professionally or as an entrepreneur. This whole conversation is about high achievers. So if you've tapped into this, you are a high achiever. So you should. It sounds like it's a series of things that you need to ask yourself to even start. Because I feel like I go to therapy, so I know what my lines are. But I
First of
feel
all,
like
can we just celebrate the blackness that I go to therapy? I know what I need. Okay.
so I feel like, but I feel like that's an anomaly though. Like a lot of high achievers is just taught to go, 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 go. Like I'm telling you from my own experience. Like I would feel guilty if I'm taking. Like I can tell you the last time I took a nap. Like I would feel guilty taking a nap, and so it's more so like it sounds like it's a series of questions you need to ask yourself to find out what's your baseline. Find out what on your body carries the stress and some of the other things you're speaking of, right?
Yeah. And what do you believe about rest? Like, what is that guilt about? Because that guilt is like a surface emotion. Like, what's actually driving that? What's at the root of that?
I tell you what, we worked through mine was that I just don't feel like I'm successful enough. So I feel like at any given time, like I need to be trying to apply for a new job or trying to pitch for a sponsorship or try to come up with my next big idea to like get to that level where I can feel like I'm successful. Like I was on a podcast recently and they was talking about my life and they was like, and y'all, we're not gonna turn this about me, but I'm telling my story so that it can relate to other people. But they asked me, do you feel like a success? And without even thinking, I was like, no. It was like, why? I was like, until my bills could be on auto pay, I don't feel successful. Like I need to have this, that, and that in order to be successful. But it's people that look at what I built. And like he was saying, it's a success. So it's the guilt of I need to be working towards my goals, not sleeping. Like I need to be working towards my goal, not in a state of rest because at any given time, like I could be doing something. Make it a graphic.
One of my good friends, Donovan, he said this to me a few months ago, and it was like the way that thing landed. So I believe in sharing, okay? He said, "Your rest is a strategy. Rest is a
Really?
strategy. Rest is a strat. Let me tell you what I found out when I had to sit down somewhere because I was doing the absolute most and came out the gate like guns blazing. And even after I sat down, when I felt energized, I still did the same thing. I was like, no days off. And I found like you peter out. Like you can't even produce once you get to a certain point because you haven't given yourself, your brain, your body a moment to recalibrate. And so you find yourself like I'm not firing off the way I need to. And that pressure does not produce. So when he said the rest is a strategy, what I took away from that is you need the matter of fact, there's some business leaders and entrepreneurs that you on the side. I'm gonna put you onto that. Like, we gotta put that in the comments somewhere, because there are some folks, really successful people, will talk about how much spaciousness they actually do insert into their month or the quarter in order to reset and allow the room for new ideas to be birthed. And so the rest is productive. You might have to Jedi mind trick yourself into it, but it's a part of the strategy. It's what helps keep the business going forward.
So for somebody listening right now that feel that they don't have the time to incorporate that, from your experience and from helping people work through these thoughts, what does a healthy routine look like for somebody who feel like they don't have enough time to devote to the mental wellness of everything?
I would challenge that. And I'm not even trying to cop out when I say I would challenge that, but like, we are all getting the same 24 hours. And so
Right.
you might not have a 3-day weekend that you could take. Like, here, I don't have a weekend because my kids are home with me on the weekend. My husband works. So what is a weekend, right? But it might be something really small and incremental that you can start with, whether that's, I can do a break of 10 minutes between these meetings. 10 minutes is not a lot. Set a timer. You'd be surprised how much value you can find in just like a 10-minute reset. And not a reset in order to make a phone call, but to just like sit, take a walk, take a stroll. People talk about, I don't have time to do like 2 miles. No one's telling you to do 2 miles. Take a 10-minute. Like, just go to the end of the block and back. So I say start small. One of the things I do with people is that we don't even like create huge goals for this sort of thing. We do something called habit stacking. Habit stacking is basically when you're trying to implement something new and you have a hard time doing it and you can't wrap your mind around it. You know you got to get up and brush your teeth every morning. When you brush your teeth, just add 2 minutes onto the timer and take some time, whether it's meditate or pray or stand in the shower 2 minutes longer. Like, just extend something that you already do and add that new routine that you're trying to develop, add it onto that. I got a girl right now who she says her friend will brush her teeth and do 2 minutes of squats while she's brushing her teeth. That's small integration. It's these micro movements that kind of help us move the needle forward. It's not going to be, you're not going to go from not working out at all to now I'm hitting the gym 5 times a week. It starts small. So I would say think about something that you could do right now that's not going to cause major waves. Maybe it's going to bed 5 minutes earlier, or maybe it's waking up 5 or 10 minutes earlier to give yourself just a little window to reset, so you're not just jumping straight into the day. Start small.
And I would say part of my therapy journey, the first time I was ever suicidal was, it's only been twice, but the first time was when I first moved to the DMV. I had lost my job, lost my car, was on the verge of losing my apartment. And I remember I was still reaching millions of people a week and still having to show up. And I remember I started Googling how did I want it to, if I was to kill myself, how would I do it? And I felt like I would rather drown and, well, unalive myself, because it's going on YouTube. If I wanted to unalive myself, what would I do? And I decided I was going to drive off a bridge. I knew what bridge I was going to drive off of. And I called my line brother, my tail, and I remember I knew he was going to be the last person I talked to. He didn't know, but I knew. So I called him on some regular, and we talking. And I called him when I was leaving my house. So I got in my car and was calling him. And we just start talking. And it's probably like, I think this is like winter time. So it get dark early. So I think we got on the phone at like 3. At 6 o'clock, in the DMV, it's pitch dark almost. And I remember like, all right, bro, holla at you, yo, dude. And then I hung up the phone and it's pitch dark. I was like, hey, I've been sitting in this car for 3 hours. Dang, do I really feel like I want to do this? But if I go back in the house, I need to take steps to not feel this feeling again. So I was like, I'm going to go back in the house. So at that point, I started listening to motivational speakers, self-help book. Les Brown was real pivotal. TD Jakes, all those was real pivotal. Zig Ziglar. And one of the things I learned is just having a healthy routine. And these things get you to the next level. I'm talking about wake up. My routine for 30 days was wake up, pray, meditate, make up my bed. And every single day for 30 days, meditate, pray, make up my bed. And then I will add to that and add to that. So now instead of listening to music, I'm listening to motivational things as I go to work, listening to TDJ sermons on the way to work. And eventually I created this, like, I felt like armor to deal with these things until it crashed in 2024. But from 2017 to 2024, everything was like constant motion of this same routine. And like even I have affirmations all around my crib to like
Mhm.
keep my mind focused on the things that I'm headed towards.
So what you just shared was actually a little bit of what I was talking about. Like you protected that time in the morning. You started out by feeding yourself, whether it
Yep.
was by something or praying or even the routine of making the bed. Like that's protecting the time to just give yourself a moment to let me decide how I want to approach the day. Let me decide how I want to get into the day. That's super, super important. That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
And like routines is like having a constant routine. I
Yeah.
don't know about anybody else, but in my
Yeah.
therapy journey and my mental health journey, the way I deal with my mental health is routine, like constantly doing the same thing. Even if I go to happy hour, I go to happy hour the same day, the same time, the same place every week. Like it's no really change up because the routine is like kind of like my safety net.
Yes, it gives you peace. That predictability gives us peace, and that's why we have those routines. Some other examples are like body scans too. Like you can do that in 2 minutes, and you don't have to like disrupt your day to do that. Body scans is where you would kind of like just go through the practice of just checking in with yourself, bringing your awareness to your head, your shoulders, your neck, your arms, and like going right down to your toes, grounding your feet, stepping in some grass. As frou-frou as that sounds, like these are like grounding techniques, and you can do that anywhere. Box breathing is something else I teach people. That doesn't have to be about time because you got to breathe anyhow, right? So you can take a couple minutes in a day to just do some simple inhale for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, and repeating these sort of things to help reset your nervous system.
And I said at the beginning, it's always about the flow of the conversation. But I got like three more questions for you.
Okay.
In terms of helping people, high achievers, high earners, and things of like that, what is the
Mhm.
biggest mistake you see these people come to you with in their journey to bettering themselves mentally?
Ignoring themselves, othering themselves. Yep, that'd be it. And the challenge there tends to be because if I can't control this thing over here, then let me just go hard in this area over here. And they go so hard that they wind up avoiding to the extent that the consequence is no longer just emotional. The consequence is physical, the consequence is relational, the consequence is now mental, and otherwise like so things start to break down. And so you're talking to me about stomach ulcers, and those ulcers might be legitimate, but it could also be the anxiety that you've been avoiding because you don't want to talk about the thing at home.
True, true, true.
This like I'll get to me later has worked against many of us. Like we're not fully integrating every area of our life. We're heavy on the grind because I know how to do that, and at least I can control these outcomes. And we are ignoring things that wind up impacting the business. Like business is personal and personal is business. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So I think that I'm hearing that a lot. I see mainly women come into the space, but when I talk to men, it's the same conversation. It's the same conversation. We're just ignoring some of the things. I don't know how to deal with that. So I'm just going to ignore it and go hard over here. And we're not taking really good care of ourselves at all. I had a client the other day say, she hadn't been to the doc. Like she has a predisposition to some medical issues based on her parents and so on. And so she knows that her propensity for this particular disease is high. She went and eventually had the test run, but was like, I'm delaying the inevitable, like going and get the results. Like, ma'am, how are you? You have businesses, not even a business. Businesses, you've got children. If you're not here, what good is the business if you haven't taken care of the things that help? Like taking care of your body. Your body is not just a mode of transportation for the business. Your body is where you house you. So that's what I'd say I'm realizing as I talk with clients day to day, week to week. It's ignoring the signs that your body is telling you that something needs attention.
And facts. And like I said at the beginning, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your conversations. I feel like it needs a part two to this.
I'm
But
saying.
for someone like you in the business that you're in, what does a space like Melanincon 2026, like this virtual thing that I created out of nowhere, what does a space, a platform like this mean to our community and you?
My God. Awareness. What I know for sure, Donovan, when I talk to people is that being able to just hear the human behind the machine, the human behind the business, the human behind the social media platforms, and recognizing that this person is also dealing with some things and being able to find ourselves in each other's stories, that goes a long way. Like you don't know how many people you are going to help by just talking about your personal experiences and letting people find out like, oh, I'm not alone in this. And I can hold space for both the business and the ambition and the goals and the human that's also like, I'm not perfect. Like I also have stuff that I'm still dealing with. I gotta see a therapist to help keep myself in check. Like that I think is gonna there's an impact that's going to happen that you may never even hear about. So being able to have these conversations, putting it on Front Street, I think is really, really critical for our communities so that they can understand I don't have to have it all together before I actually start working on my goals, but I can work on my goals and still take care of myself as well.
Perfect. I appreciate that. You always got to lead with being authentic. Like just because people have a massive following and do all these things, you're not Superman. So I bleed like you believe. I just my 24 hours is just a little different. But for the people following, I remember you saying about the mosaic. Tell them about what you have going on and how they can support and pour into you, and also get some resources that you spoke of. I
Oh,
know you
yes.
sent me a link to one that I'm gonna have in the comment.
Yes. So the resource I shared with you. So the Mosaic Refinery, what that even means, just to be clear, because people don't always know what the name means. But what I believe and that the mission of that business is that the broken pieces in our lives, because we've all got something, right? These broken pieces, when refined, can create something beautiful. And so I believe that beautiful things grow in hard places. And so, what I want people to know about what it is we do, we provide psychotherapy and coaching at the leadership level, at the individual level, wherever you are in your life, that we provide coaching and support and workshops and retreats. So, we've got a retreat coming up this July. Actually, very excited about that. So it's called the Homecoming Retreat. That's about giving some high achieving women an opportunity to hit the pause button and just reset, recalibrate, regroup, take the cape off and be cared for at a high touch point with myself and some other licensed clinicians and coaches. And so, yeah, I want people to know that you can be high functioning and not quite healthy, as we've uncovered tonight. And so, inside of my ecosystem, these are the sort of things that we deal with, helping people come back to themselves and really learn how to integrate all parts of themselves, what's unhealed, what's working well, and how you want to show up in the world in a way that doesn't require you to abandon yourself or override yourself in order to do that. So, the resource that I sent you is a simple, gentle self assessment called Back to You. And it just helps you check in really quickly and immediately. Here's where I am. Here's how I've been showing up. And what can I do about it right now?
Amazing. And please, the work you're doing is so pivotal. I have a soft spot in my heart for therapists. My friend Brittany Flowers, she was a Delta and graduate from UDC. She was a social worker and talked of these things. And I have a scholarship in honor of her name called the Brittany Flowers Grant for aspiring social workers. So y'all have a special place for me. So thank you for your time. Thank you for all those who chimed in. Thank you for those who are going to chime in. And you have a blessed evening.
You do the same.